You might be a bounty hunter, rogue bandit, or even a Sith Lord. You might even be one of these stormtroopers who are lucky enough to command AT-ATs. But one thing is for sure, Cal Kestis will find you, he will kick your ass. My name is CouchCube, and this is my PS5 review of Jedi Survivor. At quality mode, then performance mode, then quality again.
We seek a dangerous fugitive. This is no common anarchist, but a devotee of the treasonous Jedi Order.
The treasonous Jedi Order. She says it weird, right? You will be pleased to hear that old Boggly Eyes is not in this much at all. Jedi Fallen Order was one of my favourite Respawn sort of Star Wars games. It was their only one up till then. This pips it. I reviewed it on PC at 1080 and Ultra, but we're going to be looking at the quality mode, full ray tracing. What a beautiful game.
I will never forget. I will honor your teaching and your sacrifice.
By the right of the Council, Cal Kestis. Rise, Jedi Knight.
Remember, trust only in the Force.
I really loved that recap, to be fair. Didn't watch it when I first looked at this on PC. I was rattling through things to try and get a good look at how amazing the visuals are, and they are some of the best for a third-person sci-fi ARPG. This scene is familiar to me because I went through it on the original playthrough. The ray tracing does pop, but it's a difficult one. There's not a lot of reflections going on. This is very shadows focused, lots of neons around. So far, the only major thing that's standing out to me is that it's not running at 60 frames per second, but we do have a very good resolution. What was all that tested quality, went to performance, then back to quality all about at the start? Well, I kind of made a mistake, or will be revealed, and it definitely points to how bad this game was performing on 9th generation systems in 2023 for that month of April. Yes, I was playing day one version of this game for ages because it installs in the background. I thought it was immediately available. 155 gigabyte, and hasn't even installed a PvP Battle Royale mode without your knowledge, Call of Duty. So in this starting area, it's quite cordoned off at the beginning. There's a lot of corridors, but there are a lot of lights. There's not too many enemies. More importantly, there's no open, massive expanses. So the quality mode was coping. Combat was all right. I was like, I think I can handle this. And if you've been watching a lot of my single player content lately on the PlayStation 5, I always want to migrate to that quality mode. I want to see that good resolution and a peg 30 frames per second. Obviously, 60 is a better choice, but it's all about this ray tracing, new tech, and having it on a nice big screen looking crisp AF. So then we go over to the first main boss fight, one of the sisters, and I'm thinking, hold on a minute, it's kind of coping, it's kind of not, it's not consistent. This is where I had to switch on the PC version, because I did go in at ray tracing everything on 30 frames, but once I got into a boss battle or a big one-to-one fight, the frames dropped and I just couldn't handle it, because it's about parrying, it's about immunity frames. You really need to be consistently looked after on the frame rate front.
Impressive!
But just walking about in that mode, Jesus Christ, this is a good looking game. Even up against Outlaws, which is far more outside and open world focused, this is still holding up incredibly well with its interiors and reflections. But remember, we are in that quality mode still, and we haven't got 60 frames per second.
Battle droids.
At this point, I'm totally coping with it. The game's Souls-like credentials are so damn strong. If you want to hear me talk about that aspect in more detail, I will link it in the top Souls-like list. But I'm having an okay time. But I haven't experienced something that's critical to one of the weapons and its combat modifications, and that's the triangle button. And that is the block move with the dual swords. It's on triangle, and it basically almost stops time. You go into like a bullet mode. And this was where I saw it go really wrong with the frames, and I'm like, uh-oh, this is a critical part of my build. It wasn't happening with any of the other weapons, so I had to switch out.
Things pack a punch.
Let me just remind you where we're up to here. The game is still installing. I haven't had the notification that it's finished installing. As far as I'm concerned, I'm playing a brand new, finished and updated version of Jedi Survivor, but I'm not playing day one because it hasn't had the handshake with the internet yet and pushed in that final patch.
Yeah. Look at that.
This is actually super interesting because there's huge screen tear whenever you're elevated and looking down at that main hub on the first planet, like unbelievably, like Ark Survival Evolved level. And I'm like, holy moly, how has this not been spoken about before? Then I have my first fight with Blanca's mum, and I do that slow down triangle parry, and my machine just goes, I'm a Spectrum 128K. I've lost all my GP and CPU instantly, and I will run at a near on standstill. I'm like, I've got to come out of this quality mode now. And here is some of the game in performance, and yeah, I will say that, wow. But I've already got this over on the PC, so I'm kind of completely devastated.
Won't get me. Eat that. Get back here.
Yeah, I will fight you in the radius of an exploding grenade. I don't care. If we both take damage, that's a win for me. These guys are so fun. The force doesn't really affect them. They slide around on their heels and they're jumping up and down and giving you so much crap. They come with pistols later on in the game. One of my favourite aspects to the enemy roster. So this is a cold, hard, sobering look at some of the shadows and detail within the performance mode. To tell you the truth, I wasn't that gutted that we were looking at a lower resolution version of the game, but when you get over to Cal's face, you start seeing some speckling on his hair. It was noticeable. And also, I got my ass so handed to me when I went to the Rancor. I didn't realise it was completely optional and you can actually go back. I attempted this with only 3 healths over on the PC and managed it after about 40 attempts. I was an idiot. Here's a better look at Cal from the front in that performance mode. And again, this is day one, and this is probably the worst resolution you'll ever see this game at on the PlayStation 5. So just as I'm heading round this bend, I get a notification up in the top right saying the game's installed. I'm like, I've been playing for 5 hours. Then I'm like, oh no. Everything you've recorded is technically obsolete because it doesn't include that patch. You need to hard reset a game and go back in for it to include any internet update that was installed after day one. And I haven't done that. I'm still sat there in the stagnant version of the game. So I hit options, back to the operating screen, reinitialize the whole thing, and sure enough, that quality mode is completely workable. And I went straight away to go and test that triangle button within the dual swords. Everything is fine. There's no major frame drops, even in pretty busy combat. So I was so impressed with that. The rest of this entire video sits in quality mode, and it is something you should be exploring because it's got full-blown ray tracing, some of the best on the system. Remember, this game is barely 1 year old. This is a very good test bed right here, outside in the open, more than one enemy, getting those dual swords on, trying the parry out more than once, maybe get it back to back. Everything was perfect in quality mode at 30 frames per second.
What does the Empire want with a backwater planet like Koboh?
Some of the traversal on the beasts within the hub sections or the built up areas can get a bit dodgy, but that's on both modes, and I feel that this game forced these in a little bit. There's something coming up in a second which I just couldn't believe they didn't include. I think we're going to see a third one of these games, and we're probably going to see a speeder in that bad boy. When I say forced, I mean the bird flying sections are really linear. I just think they switched them out for another rope. Are you with me? You can't just go flying off around a corner and discover something. Well, technically you could, but you're always gliding downwards. There's no free flying as such. And I actually caught one of these damned red things. You could believe that?
We can trade this at Doma's shop.
I also haven't touched on its excellent photo mode, which in that original day one state was unworkable in quality because of the judder and the non-dolly movement, but in performance it was working, and it still is dodgy as hell when you go to quality mode and start moving that camera around. But what isn't dodgy, and when I played this over on PC, these planetary entry cutscenes had all manner of weird dropped frames in them and checkerboarded, but everything smooth, stunning. I think this is the best place I've seen Jedi Survivor, brackets the PlayStation 5. I've got a GTX 1440-50, so I get it at 60 frames and 120k. Yeah, alright mate, it's okay. It's just us console boys are trying to enjoy this one. I do want to talk about Cal very briefly. I don't often gravitate towards Star Wars protagonists, antagonists, a lot of the recent stuff, the Acolyte. I can't really relate to a lot of it. But the actor that they got in to play this guy and the precision that they recreated his face with is something you do not see on Outlaws or Control. I don't know what is going on with that, but he's just cool. He gets a little bit of a flirt on here and it's just awesome timing.
That's right.
There is a lot to be explored with this formula and this type of Star Wars IP, I think. I want to see loads more in the direction of the Jedi games. Bigger worlds, more beasts to ride, mini-bosses, more rumours, sub-quests, just expand the whole damn thing. I think it's great that they get in this indigenous life to traverse around, but dang, do they pull some blue ballery with this scene.
Old Aerotech speeder bikes. Never got to ride one.
As you all may probably know or can tell, I'm completely obsessed with the gun. The gun build is the way forward, and getting the little perks for it, increasing the magazine, making that build shot more exciting is definitely the link in the combat that I felt was missing. Tiny bit of range, nice bit of reflex, and something else to develop on that skill tree.
They really don't want us looking around, do they?
Like, I didn't think they'd go this far with it. I do get some funny feedback visually on turning the weapon within this screen. It's only happened at this particular workbench. It's like the little spirited away fluffy black creatures are all over my gun for some strange reason, but the colours, the different loadouts on the barrels and the grip, awesome stuff. Also, what I don't feel is spoken about enough is a lot of the tongue-in-cheek and really cool droid humour that they've put in the game, alongside Cal and his backstory.
We're unstoppable. Hello.
And just when I was thinking, how can this third-person Star Wars ARPG get any better? I'm given the crossguard stance, which basically feels like a greatsword. Big, slow, high-damage swings, a nice strong guard, and a two-handed amazing animation on how he swings that thing around. Triangle's like an uppercut, and it's just sublime. What do I want to do with this? Take it straight to the Rancor and kick his goddamn ass.
Now I know what killed those prospectors.
One of my more favoured sort of mid to late game discoveries is that bandit woman sitting in the bar who will give you contracts to go and fight quite unique, really cool rogue stormtroopers or bandits or even Fett style hunters. It's amazing because of the rewards that you get will increase what you can do with your gun from there on in.
You can't win!
The performance of the game was touch and go there, and I pity any person that had to go through this on the first week or even 2 weeks of launch. I'm not too sure how long that patch took to come in, but it has cleaned up all of that performance on the quality mode, and I didn't even go back to look at the standard performance 60 frames per second mode. I was so happy with these gorgeous visuals, high resolution, and no major frame drops. I also managed to find this game physical for £25 British. Can you believe? That's awesome. And I have a feeling in my bones, as old Coop always says, that it will be on PSN pretty soon, already on Game Pass, hence the PC review. I will, of course, see you down there.